Good morning, everyone. Thought I'd bring you back into the workshop here really quickly and give you a little bit of an update on the next project we're going to start on here. This is actually a custom build Fender Stratocaster electric guitar, and just kind of give you a look at it here. And Fender Strat, it's a made in Mexico neck, and I think both pieces are from around the 80s or so, and sometime in the early 80s. Could take it apart and show you, but we're going to do several things here. And this is actually a build that my son and I did together, and he has requested to make some changes. And the first is to put heavier gauge of string on here, so we're going to put 10s on here. We're going to put what do we got here? So what we've got, Diodario XLs 10 to 46 is what we're putting on. And then we're going to check all the setup numbers. I've already done a little bit of measuring with my feeler gauges and stuff. Looks like we need to do a little bit of a truss rod adjustment. He's also requested that make this, right now you could put the rod in here in the this is called a tremolo, and it moves the bridge around, so if you're playing you can do this. He wants this made into a hardtail, meaning that when let me flip this over here, maybe I can show you. Yeah, here we go, because the back plate is not on here. What we're going to do is we're going to peg this all the way forward and I'm going to clean this up, and you can see the little custom plate cover, but I'll do a bunch of cleaning up and working on it and stuff like that. It's got some finish stuff that I may try to address along the neck where the finish is kind of worn away. He doesn't like a real shiny, when he plays, he doesn't like a real shiny polished neck anyway, so I may just put some lacquer there and then sand it down with, like, 3000 or something, and make it not a shiny surface. But it's actually a nice looking, pretty guitar. It's got Wilkinson tuners. I'm going to take some numbers. The first thing I'm going to do is get these strings off of here. We're going to clean everything up, and then after I do that, I'm going to because I can't do it with the lighter strings, the numbers will be totally different, but I'm going to check all these numbers, and then once I do that, get all the numbers checked out, I'm going to make this the hardtail. We're going to clean everything up and all that kind of stuff. So be a little bit of a project, but hopefully take an hour or two and get this thing playable, and have him come over later and play a little bit. Hey there, everyone. Let me bring you back again just for a quick update as to what I've got going on here. You can see I've detached, let me swing around here, I've taken the neck off of the Strat. This is the more challenging part of what I need to do to this, and try to show this to you. You can see some of the dents in the frets here from the strings. Just over time that happens. Those actually will come out fairly easily. But the other thing, and I don't know if you can really see it well on the on the video, unfortunately. But it's especially true of these first several, maybe 4, 5, 6 frets, but really all of them, as I'm looking down here, have the tops are really flat. Like somebody at one point in time took maybe a block with some sandpaper or something and just leveled out all the frets, and then never went back and put the radius on top, or the crown they call that, the top of the fret. And let me just use, because this is closer here, imagine this is the fret, so you're looking here at the side of the fret, and you can see how it's got a rounded shape to it on the side. But once you come around to the top, it goes flat. And what happens is, when you press, the string is supposed to hit the top of the fret, and somebody has gone through and flattened that off so that it's not rounded like this. So what I've done, I've taped up the fretboard, as you can see, all the way down. I don't want to scratch the I don't want to scratch up the fretboard any worse than it already is. Now, he's also mentioned he doesn't want me to do any finish type work on the fretboard, so he wants it to have that old relict used look. So he wants it to look like an old worn, well played guitar. So we're going to leave all of the finish alone. We'll just when I'm done, I'll just clean it. I won't do any touch-ups or anything with lacquer. So anyway, I don't want to do any damage to the fretboard. So what I've done is I've taped, and just used blue tape, painter's tape, because that'll come off of there no problem. And then I've taken a marker, and I've marked all the frets, and that way the marker will show me where I've filed, because I'm going to file down. I'm going to file back in the radius back into these frets, and then I'm going to take the straight edge like so. There's a few of them that are not level, and we're going to go through and make sure that you can hear that. Yep. It's one little spot there. This rocks back and forth when the frets are not level. So there's a few spots I've already checked up and down here, and there's a few of them, and it makes a noise. So if it's not level, it'll rock back and forth. But I need to do all the frets because Cory, being a lead electric guitar player, he plays all the way up and down the neck. So I need to get all of these recrowned, and then I'll come back with some sandpaper and other, just various grits of sandpaper, polish them, and maybe even a little bit of my semi-chrome polish. That way when he bends and stuff, it'll slide up and down the fret without, won't have a gritty feeling when he's trying to play. So I'll get this all done. We'll put the neck back on, get the new strings, do a setup. I think what he was complaining about with some of the buzzing and strings fretting out had to do with these flat tops, and so I think doing this work is going to take care of that. So all right, we're back again. Let me just give you an update. It's been a little while, and I've done some work on, I showed you frets here. Let's see if I can get you a good shot here. Yeah, maybe you can see that. I've crowned and polished. Actually, I did some filing, which is how I put the crown. Remember I said they were flat, so we've gotten them back to a rounded profile. Can we see that? Yeah, rounded profile there. And then I took some sandpaper and sanded them really nice, get the file marks out, and then some polish. So they look really, really good. And right now, and then I cleaned everything up. Just needed a good wipe down, a good clean. I did have a little issue. This had a couple of string trees up here. I don't know if I mentioned in the last video, but the this one here, the screw broke off, so I'll have to deal with that one. I go to put them back on. But anyway, I'm gonna put the neck back on, I'm going to put the new set of strings, again the Diodario XLs, size 10s. Going to put those on, do a setup on the guitar, and see if we can make this thing playable. So just a couple of minutes to give you an update on what I'm doing. When I get strings back on it, get it playable, I'll bring you back in and tell you what I've done. Hey there! Going to bring you back in, give you one more update on the Fender Strat. This is a custom Strat, and I gave you one of the dates that I gave you was wrong on this guitar. Cory ordered all of this stuff, and then we put it together, and I'm doing some new strings and a setup and all of that. Actually, when I took the neck off, the neck is dated October of 1990, so it's not 80s. The body is dated 1984, so still a little bit of age on it, which is what Cory wanted. It's got some, yeah, you can see here, it's got some nicks and dings and scratches and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of that road worn thing. Anyway, what I've done, again, he wanted me to hardtail the bridge, meaning it won't move. I'm not going to use the tremolo at all. Just, there's some screws and springs I tightened up, so this is not going to move. If you put the trem arm in there, or I just used a actually I just used a Allen wrench, you can't move the bridge. So if you're playing, that doesn't move. So that's locked in place. That's the right size for the truss rod adjustment, by the way. So got all this back together. I showed you I pulled the neck off and I worked on the frets, got those all evened out, got the crown, they call that, the top of the fret, put back on. Checked, there's a problem here that we need to still, I need to talk to Cory about, and I think he's going to be okay with, we need to replace this nut. It's way too low and it's causing some buzzing in through here. So I've set the truss rod adjustment, I've set the string height, tested the intonation, the 3 pickups, I've checked heights on each side. It goes like 3.5 millimeters, 3 millimeters for these, 2.5 millimeters for these, and 2 millimeters for this one. So that's where it is. If he wants to fine tune those, there's a screw on each side, he can do that. But that's kind of just standard recommendation for setting stuff up. And so I got all that. I've had it plugged in and played. It actually plays. It does, again, it's got a little bit of buzzing on some stuff, but it plays nice. The action's really nice. I can bend the strings because the frets are polished. I can bend the strings up against the frets without, it doesn't feel scratchy or anything like that. It plays really, really nice. So the only thing, and really we need to see if we're measuring, let me see if I can find my, that's 19, here's an 18, 18 thousandths is what we need to see here, and what we've got is way less on a lot of these strings. So especially when you get into these, the top one's okay, but when you start getting into these middle strings, it's way, way, way less. And so I think unless that's addressed, I'm not sure this buzzing is going to go away. And it's very, very low. And it's got the same, if you notice, my project, my Fender acoustic project, it's the same or similar neck, maple neck, the Fender headstock, same nut. Let me flip this up on its side so you can see the difference is that nut has been taken down so low the strings are actually touching, and that's not a good thing. So we need to address that, and I think that's going to take care of the concerns that he had about the guitar. Mainly it was just height in through here. It's just way too low from, and what I'm talking about with the string height is, let me bring it in here and you can hopefully see this, from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string. So if you look through there, you see that little gap. Well, that little gap needs to be about 18 thousandths of an inch. And so if I put my little feeler gauge in there, now I set some string height, and I'm going to recheck everything and let it sit for a while because wood likes to move and all that. Hey there everyone, coming back again, another video for you, and this time bringing this is a project guitar that my son and I put together, and it has an issue. He bought these individual parts of the neck and body and all of that separately, and got an issue. I showed you in the other video. I've already done a preliminary type setup on the guitar. The other thing that I'm going to do is, I mean, it's a really sharp guitar and all of that, but the complaint is, and this being from my son, is that there's fret buzz, and I've done some measuring and all of that and determined that the distance here, and let me adjust the camera here and I'll bring in, I just wanted you to see the guitar again. There we go. So I've got you readjusted here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this nut that is in here because the distance, and I learned this little trick from another YouTuber that kind of hold the strings off while you're trying to do stuff, and I'm hoping it works to be able to get this nut out. And you can actually see, I'm going to check the camera and see if you can see it. Yeah, you can see them. Can actually see, and I'm zoomed in as far as I can, but I think you can see the strings are actually, the string height is so low here that the strings are actually biting into the back of the headstock. So right here, let me find something to point with other than my finger. That might be more beneficial here. Yeah, just use this. If you can see these notches here all along into the wood, what's supposed to happen is the string is supposed to cross the nut, go down to the post, but there should be a gap here. It shouldn't touch the headstock here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this one out of here, and I've ordered a replacement, and I'm going to fit that here and then adjust as I need to get correct string height and all of that. And I'm confident that that's going to eliminate any of the string buzz that's going on, and then I'll have him play this, and we may do a little bit of a demo with him playing it, and so you can see how it sounds. But I've got a hammer here, a soft ended hammer. You can see that there. And I'm going to knock this out. Most times they're glued in, but it shouldn't be glued in too bad. It shouldn't be too difficult to get out of there. Let me just see. I should have been prepared before I started this video. I need to get something to put up there to smack against it. So let's just see if we can do it with this. Yep, that busted it loose. Like I said, typically you don't need a whole lot of pressure there to get that out. And what we should be able to see, yeah, so you can see, let me just hold this up for you here, make sure I got you in the video. You can see the new nut, and I'm trying to hold this in such a way that gives you a good angle. But the new nut is significantly taller. Let's see, can you zoom? Yeah, there you go. So that's definitely going to be the issue. And it looks like the nut I ordered is a bone nut. The one that came out looks like it's plastic, so that'll help us a little bit with sound anyway. It looks like we've got a little bit of glue residue in there. I'm going to get a small chisel and deal with that. And again, I don't know how much of this I'll edit out or keep you in here or not, but basically what I'm doing is just where they glued had the old nut glued in there, I'm just cleaning the slot, getting the glue out of there so we don't have to deal with that. Again, scraping glue and stuff, you know, it's, if you like the sound of nails on the chalkboard, then that's your thing. If not, then not so much, of course, because yeah, that's kind of the sound you get. But so not too bad. They didn't go too overboard with the glue there. Hopefully you can see some of that coming out. Just this one section, it looks like. And with these, I've seen them put in with both super glue and with tight bond. I don't know that it matters a whole lot, but that should just about do it there. And again, just trying to clean out the slot because we want this to fit nice and snug in there. So a little chisel, throw that away, put it back where it needs to go, and I'm just going to pop this in here, and we're going to see how we did. And I just ordered, this is an actual Fender part, this bone nut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the setup without gluing it in. I'm going to leave it just like this. What I am going to do is just get that out of here, put the string back on, and we've got on this end with these strings a string tree on the two high strings. So put that string back under, put those strings back under there. We are going to have to maybe do a little bit of filing and all that, but what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tighten things up and retune, and we'll see if we made any progress, and we'll have to check all of our other measurements and all of that. But you can already see, at least I'm hoping you can in the video, you can already see there's a shadow from the string, and especially on this. And I'm just going to point with this feeler gauge here, but you can see this, the shadow here where the string is coming through, and I can put the feeler gauge underneath here, and so I've got clearance now, so the string is not touching the wood. So what that should do is clear up any buzzing or any kind of issues as far as this back in here where this is impeding on the sound. Now we may have to put and I'm just noticing here this is coming off really straight here, and we do need some downward pressure on the nut, so I may have to put another string tree right here And I may go ahead and see if I have one here. I should. All right, let me bring you back in here. Took me a few minutes to track down the string tree, but got that installed. You can see that here. There's one here. And what that does is pull, because of the shape of the headstock, you actually need downward pressure on the nut in order to get proper sound from the strings. So the string trees help pull the strings down across and give good angle. These were coming off just a little bit too straight, so I added this second string tree as well, and that'll help put a little downward pressure here. So we should be good to go. So and these don't really, it doesn't have to be up to pitch. I'm just putting some tension on here at this point, and I can just tell by looking that we're way too high. So I am going to have to spend some time and file these down, and because what we're looking for again is we'd really like to have around 18 thousandths, and you can see we're a little bit higher than that, but we also need to maintain distance here. You can see we're not touching. I can take this feeler gauge and I put in here, and I've got sufficient clearance. Before it was digging in, so it actually it feels a little high here. It's hard to play, so I'm going to have to file down these strings, and what I'll do is I'm going to get the files out, and I'm going to do, again, let me just kind of run you through that process one by one. I've got these small files, and I'll get one that closely matches the width of the string, and just as an example here, I'll measure it before I actually do it, but let's just say that's the one we're going to use. I'll loosen this off. I'll loosen this one off, and toward where it goes onto the post, that's the angle we want to file. And so what I'll do is I'll put the file in, and I'll file it down, and I'll check and check and check and make sure that I'll get this distance correct all the way across, so that it plays well and so that it doesn't hit the back of the headstock there. So I'm going to pause the camera. I've explained this to you. It's not exciting TV. So welcome back, YouTubers. Thanks for following along. We're going to do the final wrap up on this Fender Stratocaster project. And brought Cory in since it's his guitar, and he's the one that can actually play it, not me. Figured I'd bring him in, let him play a little something for you, and I think he's going to play something that a little composition that he came up with. So I'm going to turn it over to him and just let him play it a little bit so you can hear how the Fender Strat sounds. As you can see, I got you zoomed in there. Pretty looking guitar, kind of white, and if you look at it close, it's got a little kind of that road-worn look to it, and all that kind of stuff. So just a nice looking Strat, nice sounding Strat. Electronics are good, and we shielded it and all that kind of stuff on the inside. I think I might have showed you that on the earlier videos. But thanks for following along, and Cory, thanks for dropping in and playing and being on the channel and all that. If you like the video, thumbs up and subscribe. Invite your friends over to take a look at the videos. And I'll catch you again next time on the next project. Thanks for watching.